On April 28, 2021, Miguel Lamboy visited the Moffett police station in Colorado, making a remarkable declaration. He disclosed that should officers promptly visit his residence, they would encounter the mummified remains of a woman located in one of the rear bedrooms. The woman identified was Amy Carlson. The individual asserted he was unaware of the cause of her death or the manner in which her remains were transported to his Colorado home from California. He explained that he had not resided in that dwelling in recent years, instead offering it as a temporary refuge for transient visitors. He claimed to have just come back from a business journey, only to find the distressing discovery in the bedroom. Following his report, law enforcement officers proceeded to his residence for an examination. Upon entry, they encountered an unexpectedly celebratory environment within the house. The hallway was embellished with vibrant lanterns guiding to the distant room, which was alive with twinkling and gleaming lights. The bedroom was festooned in a whimsical theme featuring unicorns, rainbows, heart decals, and soft toys, primarily in hues of pink. The bed was arranged as a ceremonial area. At its heart was a turquoise sleeping bag, illuminated by fairy lights, encasing a decaying corpse. The state of the cadaver indicated that the woman had passed away several weeks prior. Her pale, excessively thin skin seemed almost surreal. Her face was sparkled and appeared to be painted. The eyes had deeply sunk, leaving merely 2 dark cavities in her visage. Her lips had withered and dried to the extent that her teeth were prominently exposed. A downy blanket with star and planet motifs covered the remainder of the body. In addition to the mummified remains, 7 adults and 2 slumbering children were found within the premises, all seemingly cohabitating unperturbed by the presence of the corpse in the rear room. All 7 adults were detained on charges of mishandling a corpse. The children and the 7 adults found residing in the house represented merely a fraction of a collective known as Love Has Won. This label was attached to a novel spiritual movement spearheaded by 45-year-old Amy Carlson, the same individual whose preserved remains were discovered in the Moffett, Colorado residence. The Love Has Won organization sustained itself through contributions from its online followers. They operated a YouTube channel on which daily updates were shared, communications were broadcasted, and all activities were orchestrated under the guidance of Amy Carlson, even posthumously, who was venerated as Mother God. Prior to leading this group, she had worked as a manager at McDonald's. Amy was born on November 30th, 1975, in Kansas, and she was the oldest of 3 sisters. From a young age, she was aware of her extraordinary talents. Her supernatural abilities started to show by the age of 5, when she began communicating with angels. Concerned by her abilities, her parents sought the counsel of various church pastors. On one occasion during a sermon, Amy experienced a psychological episode, declaring the pastor's words to be untrue and loudly insisting on this until she was escorted outside. This narrative comes from Carlson herself, though her family members do not acknowledge such events. Amy was an exemplary student and was seen by those who knew her as a kindly and gentle rural girl who was reserved and never caused disturbances. At the age of 9, Amy's parents divorced, and her father remarried. The custody dispute resulted in the children dividing their time between their mother's home in Kansas and their father and stepmother's residence in Oklahoma. Amy spent her teenage years like any other teen, except she maintained a fondness for childlike motifs such as unicorns and rainbows, amassed a collection of soft toys, and loved all things pink and glittery. Her parents believed she would outgrow these interests, but Amy remained attached to them, considering them not just decorations, but part of her essence. After completing high school, Amy relocated to Houston, Texas, engaging in church choirs and theater. It was during this period that she began to express interest in more esoteric subjects, including extraterrestrial vehicles, and viewing herself as a higher entity. Her choices in partners were poor, leading to 3 marriages and 3 children with different fathers by her early 20s. Her fascination with these interests eventually eroded the emotional bond with her last husband. The presence of her children did not deter her pursuit of new and exciting experiences. Carlson did not embody the nurturing maternal figure, and often left her children in the care of others, demonstrating a lack of the altruistic trait typically seen in parents, finding even her own children's company tedious. Amy's interest in New Age spirituality grew, and by the early 2000s, she was actively participating in a forum called Lightworkers, a community that believed in mutual healing and elevation, striving to achieve their fullest potential collectively. She dedicated numerous hours to interacting with fellow forum users who shared her interests, particularly engaging with an individual named Amrit Whiterig, with whom she communicated most extensively. On September 1st, 2007, Carlson shared a captivating entry on the forum, claiming she had been visited by a celestial entity. This entity disclosed to her that she was destined to become the President of the United States. She narrated an incident where, while cleaning the kitchen, she felt a nudge on her shoulder. Turning around, she found no one there, but then she received a communication informing her of her future role as the nation's leader. The message, though akin to the sound of violins, was interpreted by Amy as a divine signal. Whiterig held her in high esteem at that juncture, feeling her ethereal energy resonate with his. They began to describe their connection as a single soul split between two bodies. This notion was romantic, yet it bore a negative consequence on others. Amrit persuaded Amy that she was the earthly manifestation of divinity, encouraging her belief for either genuine conviction or opportunistic reasons. She adopted the title Mother God and insisted on being addressed as such. Amy, who had always relished assuming different personas, conveyed to her admirer that no singular form could encompass the entirety of Father God's essence, suggesting that Father God was dispersed among various men. This rationalization allowed her the liberty to engage with multiple partners, believing herself capable of embodying the full spectrum of the Creator's energy. The concept of being Mother God captivated Amy far more than the mundane reality of being a conventional mother to her children. Ultimately, she chose to distance herself completely from her familial ties, informing her husband of her departure and severing connections with most of her kin. Motivated by her calling, Amy made her way to Crestone, Colorado, to join forces with her counterpart Amrit Whiterig, aiming to initiate a global awakening. Recognizing the enormity of their mission, they established the term Galactic Federation of Light, and, in December 2009, started disseminating their beliefs via a YouTube channel. Their teachings were a blend of New Age spiritual conspiracy theories and certain mainstream religious practices, with a central emphasis on the adoration of Mother God. Online, Amy was portrayed as a celestial entity, aged 19 billion years, who had manifested everything as Mother God. She informed her followers that she had experienced 534 reincarnations, including lives as Jesus, Cleopatra, Joan of Arc, and Marilyn Monroe, a mix that did not faze Carlson. Her declared goal was to guide 144,000 select individuals into the legendary fifth dimension. Furthermore, Amy professed that Donald Trump had been her father in a previous existence, and that she maintained a profound connection with the spirit of the deceased actor Robin Williams, now deemed an archangel. Williams, according to her, was a part of her spiritual cadre, frequently relaying messages from the afterlife. She also claimed to possess an advanced technology responsible for the cataclysm that engulfed Atlantis. Although she salvaged this technology, she couldn't fully transition to her fifth dimension since humanity wasn't prepared for her ascension. Historically, female-led cults are uncommon, yet Amy's exceptional charisma and influence enabled her to sway and control those in her circle. Amy, self-styled as Mother God, aimed to establish harmony on Earth and lead humanity towards a significant spiritual awakening, followed by an ascension with 144,000 devoted followers aboard starships to a blissful realm. Her vision promised a higher state of consciousness devoid of suffering for her followers, whereas all non-believers would be condemned to dwell on the sun, destined to combust and petrify. Carlson propagated the belief that the world was under the sway of a secretive elite cadre, intent on sustaining a global, low-vibrational energy level. Amy rallied a close-knit group of approximately 17 followers who resided with her, conducting daily live streams on YouTube to expand their audience and boost their subscriber base, a critical measure to support their communal lifestyle through donations. Despite the incredulity of her claims, individuals were drawn to her, severing ties with their families, surrendering their finances, and dedicating themselves to the worship of Mother God. Initially, the live broadcasts were managed by Whiterig and Amy, but the responsibility gradually shifted to their adherents. Nearly every stream teased the imminent arrival of spaceships to Earth, yet each new session deferred this event, attributing the delay to widespread human ailments, global corruption, and the general populace's oblivion. In this precarious juncture, they deemed it imperative to retain Amy's presence on Earth. Their broadcasts attracted thousands who donated eagerly, prayed for global cleansing, and Amy's eventual ascension to her destined plane. This repetitive cycle, finding Amy still among the living each day, proved to be a source of distress for her followers. Beyond soliciting donations, Carlson marketed dietary supplements online and offered what she termed etheric surgery for $88 a session. This service, purportedly conducted by Amy, claimed to eradicate all physical and spiritual maladies, and astonishingly, numerous individuals availed themselves of this so-called etheric surgical procedure. Emmy's partnership with Whiterig concluded in 2014 after he chose to end their relationship. However, Carlson swiftly found a successor in 35-year-old Miguel Lamboy, whom she bestowed the title of Archangel Michael Silver, and together they embarked on a renewed venture named Love Has Won. Throughout the years, Emmy continued to assert her divine status, nominating various individuals to assume the mantle of Father God. At the time, it was believed by Carlson and fellow group members that Miguel was battling advanced lung cancer, having already undergone the removal of one lung, with his survival appearing precarious. Yet his devout belief in Amy's purported mystical abilities facilitated his recovery. Consequently, Miguel was prepared to support her unconditionally. Miguel's role extended beyond his spiritual duties alongside Carlson. He was instrumental in managing the logistical and financial aspects of the Love Has Won movement. By 2019, it had been established as a non-profit charitable entity, with all pertinent legal documentation registered under his name. This arrangement was intended to ensure that, should Amy ascend, she would remain unencumbered by earthly belongings and free from legal obligations. From 2014 to 2018, the movement experienced significant growth online. Those residing with Amy affectionately referred to her as their mother, a title she reciprocated by calling them her children. Initially, she truly embodied the nurturing qualities of a compassionate, attentive caregiver, offering guidance and comfort to each member. Her presence was a source of sustenance for all, but as time passed, Carlson's demeanor drastically changed. She began to consume alcohol excessively, evolving into a harsh, authoritarian figure prone to unpredictable and severe outbursts towards her followers. She unjustly accused them of betrayal without any evidence, subjected them to physical punishment, regulated their intimate relationships, and prohibited their alcohol consumption. Unable to cope with his partner's escalating alcoholism, Miguel Lamboy discreetly departed, leaving his whereabouts unknown. In 2018, Carlson encountered Jason Castillo, who assumed the role of the new Father God. As Amy's inseparable ally, he supported her through her alcohol-fueled lifestyle, which had by that time inflicted significant harm on her physique, rendering her unable to walk. Instead of assisting her, Castillo simply transported her wherever needed, showing tenderness towards Amy, yet displaying a harsh and aggressive demeanor towards others residing with them. The nature of their live streams evolved, with members of the group spending hours in front of the camera, occasionally responding to followers' inquiries or sharing snippets of their everyday activities. Amy and Jason, despite living under the same roof, never made an appearance on these broadcasts. This circumstance persisted for several months, and followers from various regions grew anxious about Mother God's location. They received information that Amy was engaged in a conflict with the elite and had sustained severe injuries. Allegedly undergoing spiritual etheric surgery, her devotees were advised to pray for her healing. In truth, Carlson was caught in such an extensive period of heavy drinking that she almost ceased consuming food. On September 13, 2018, Amy Carlson presented herself to her followers, looking severely thin, brittle, and notably weak. She attributed her state to having assimilated and neutralized 99% of the planet's negative energies, which resulted in her ill health and nearly confined her to bed. Her revelation that her physical form might not withstand much longer led her to impose stringent sleep limits on her group, to ensure there was always someone available to help her. Sleeping beyond 5 hours was met with penalties, and casual eating was banned. The communications from their YouTube channel took on an increasingly menacing, antagonistic, and arrogant tone, designed to intimidate viewers and critique the flaws of the current world in an effort to solicit more financial contributions. Amy, gravely sick, would make appearances in videos asking for medicine, which in reality was tequila. Ex-members of the group reminisced about their time with Love Has Won, noting an initial phase of profound self-discovery, acceptance, and affection. Yet they quickly found themselves relegated to menial labor, filling their time with domestic duties, entertainment like dance, games, or protracted prayer sessions. The stringent diet and sleep protocols led to loss of weight and deteriorating health. Despite the detrimental atmosphere, the initial weeks were recalled as the most joyful period of their lives, with a complete dedication to the great mission. As the COVID-19 pandemic spread, the Love Has Won organization started marketing colloidal silver as a cure, despite warnings and a ban by the Health and Human Services Agency due to the risks associated with consuming silver ions. Despite warnings, Amy's excessive intake of colloidal silver led to her skin turning a bluish hue. In May 2020, a former group member was discovered in a forest, nude, confused, dehydrated, and undernourished, after being cast out for allegedly possessing too low energy. By year's end, Amy, Jason, and 14 loyal followers relocated to Hawaii. Their peculiar actions and Amy's assertion of being a Hawaiian deity incited local opposition and protests, ultimately forcing their departure back to Colorado. Amy's condition worsened significantly. She grew weaker and was bedridden. Despite her dire state and pleas for genuine medical care, her followers declined outside medical assistance, fearing it would expose her to further risk. Opting to pray for her recuperation, they neglected to provide Mother God with the medical intervention she desperately sought. In the subsequent year, the situation grew increasingly complex. Devotees of the sect believed they might lose Amy at any moment. The group relocated to California and initiated a fresh series of broadcasts. On April 16, 2021, during a live stream, a member informed the audience that matters were not progressing smoothly and that Amy was nearing her physical demise, potentially leaving her corporeal existence at any time. That same night, he announced in an update, "Mother is set to ascend tonight." Amy's biological family, her mother and siblings, were vigilantly monitoring these updates to glean insights into her condition. The latest news deeply concerned them. The family reached out to the authorities, requesting a welfare check, but upon the police's arrival at the given address, they were greeted by 2 sect members at the door, claiming Amy was absent. The following day, another member declared on his social media that the Divine Mother no longer suffers. She has ascended, leaving her followers to appreciate the immense benevolence Amy contributed by rescuing their wayward spirits and negating all malice in the world. Followers were convinced that Amy Carlson, deemed the originator of all and Mother God, had departed this realm for good, a belief reinforced by other members who remarked on her passing and shared her images. Oddly, mere hours after these tributes and snapshots were shared during a live session, another sect member suggested Amy was still battling for life and currently recuperating. Subsequently, 9 days afterward, the police uncovered Carlson's remains following Miguel Lamboy, erstwhile known as God the Father, reported a grim discovery at his residence. It emerged that Amy's companion, Jason Castillo, along with her adherents, had transported her body by car from California back to Colorado, to to Lamboy's apartment where their journey commenced. They arrived unannounced, failing to inform him of Amy's demise. The sect insisted that Mother God had recently been alive, showing signs of life through movements of her hands, rhythmic chest rises and falls, and a detectable pulse. Nevertheless, the decomposition state indicated she had passed away significantly earlier. In essence, the followers were in denial about her death, interacting with their deceased leader as though she remained among the living. Owing to the state of the corpse, establishing the precise reason for Amy Carlson's demise proved challenging for the medical examiner. It appears that her death was primarily caused by excessive consumption of colloidal silver, coupled with alcohol intake and anorexia. Irrespective of her journey's end, Amy had ascended to the fifth dimension. On one side, her adherents rejoiced, yet on the other, they found it hard to adjust to existence without their guide. Jason Castillo and 6 other members of the group faced charges related to the mishandling of human remains. They spent the summer and autumn of 2021 awaiting their trial, only for the prosecutor to suddenly and without fanfare dismiss the charges in December, opting to let these individuals be. The collective's assets, valued at $300,000, were listed under Miguel Lamboy's name, who was also the sole proprietor of the group's main facility. Following the removal of Amy's body from his property, he vanished with the funds, prompting speculation that he was the actual architect of the scheme, orchestrating events from behind the scenes. He refuted these claims, stating that it is common for spiritual leaders to use alternate names in official records. Lamboy further professed his ongoing faith in Amy and her celestial origins. Following the demise of the cult leader, the Love Has Won movement persisted, fragmenting into various groups, all active online and marketing assorted items. Its members hold on to the belief that they will eventually ascend to the fifth dimension to reunite with Amy Carlson. Jason Castillo has established his faction, claiming to embody both Father God and Mother God energies, and asserts that his is the only genuine group, labeling the rest as imposters. Now residing in tents with his close associates, he shares his experiences on the internet. Astonishingly, these splinter groups from the Love Has Won movement continue to function, drawing in followers and securing donations. To this day, there are individuals who have faith in their cause and are prepared to financially back them. Are love and authentic emotions always essential? Sadly, in today's society, this isn't always true. In the current era, love can even be purchased, but it's crucial to recognize that an individual who trades love lacks any ethical principles. Alongside this, they barter their spirit and subsequently yours, and continue their lives on the earnings with an untroubled mind. Paradise Island is the last location where one might anticipate any sort of dreadful offense. A devoted duo took residence in an opulent cabin to enjoy a holiday together, and a day afterward, one of them disappeared without a trace. The event we're discussing today took place on the enchanting island of Fangan, adorned with grand Buddhist shrines, mountains that capture the imagination, bustling thoroughfares, and pristine sandy shores. All of this is situated in the remarkable nation of Thailand. Owing to its vibrant culture, sumptuous cuisine, and diverse natural wonders, millions of tourists from across the globe visit Thailand annually. The island is often likened to Spain's Ibiza. The inhabitants of this nation are exceedingly serene and friendly, and indeed this location is dubbed the Land of Smiles. After a journey to Thailand, you will be left with an ocean of memories to cherish for a lifetime, whether it's vibrant nights in the metropolis, treks in the mountains, unwinding on the beaches, or pursuing spiritual enlightenment. Further to the south, in the Gulf of Siam, resides the island of Fangan, home to merely 12,000 inhabitants and spanning an area of 48 square miles. A significant portion of it boasts spectacular beaches. Beyond the beaches, a multitude of restaurants and shops populate the town and its roads. This island is famed for its monthly full moon party, drawing in tens of thousands of visitors on each occasion. Revelers converge on the beaches to dance the night away, sipping cocktails under the moon's glow. Electronic music fills the air across the town, with bars and eateries staying open till the break of dawn, and numerous attendees delay their sleep to experience this enchanting event. The celebration extends over 3 nights. This custom began in the 1970s when the island served merely as a waypoint for travelers en route from Thailand to India. The full moon party turned the tranquil hamlet into a bustling island metropolis. However, the aftermath of such intense partying and unbridled drinking is appalling, leaving behind a mess of food packaging, empty bottles, and even evidence of illicit substance use, such as syringes. These remnants litter the streets and beaches of Phangan, forcing the local community to address the aftermath of the nocturnal festivities. August 3rd, 2023, dawned as a typical day on the island. The previous night had seen yet another celebration in honor of the full moon. Some visitors were already savoring their morning coffee. Others were grappling with the after-effects of a severe hangover from the previous night's drinks, while some relished the crisp morning breeze. At 12:30 local time, a sanitation worker conducting his routine collection at the local landfill spotted something out of the ordinary. On a closer examination, he uncovered a peculiar fertilizer sack brimming with damp, decaying matter, initially resembling the remnants of a deceased animal discarded within. Yet a more detailed inspection left him visibly shocked. Enclosed within the sack were human body fragments. Subsequent investigations revealed he had stumbled upon a human pelvis and internal organs. The responding officers deduced that the remains could not have been of a local due to the large size of the body parts. This discovery was the beginning of a grim sequence, with fertilizer and garbage bags containing various human remains being found across the island by other inhabitants. In total, 14 bags were uncovered, spread out over a vast area. Initially uncertain whether they pertained to a single individual or multiple, the police, suspecting the victim was probably a tourist, acted swiftly. The local authorities promptly disseminated a cautionary notice amongst the island's populace. A thorough search of the same landfill later revealed another bag, this one containing human legs and articles of clothing. From these clues, it was inferred that the act had been committed roughly 36 hours earlier, based on the state of decomposition observed. Following DNA testing, forensic experts identified the remains as belonging to an individual named Edwin Arrieta Arteaga. However, the specifics surrounding the victim's identity, the cause of his demise, and the reason his remains were dispersed across the island remained unclear. Edwin Arrieta Arteaga hailed from Santa Cruz del Islote, in the northern region of Colombia. He grew up under the care of 2 devoted and prosperous parents. His father was employed as a technician fixing radios and televisions, while his mother, a retired educator, was a pillar in their community. Despite living apart, Edwin's mother frequently visited them until her untimely death at the age of 44. Edwin harbored aspirations of relocating overseas to pursue a career in surgery, dedicating himself to his university studies to attain a medical degree. After years of dedication, the burgeoning specialist relocated to Monteria, where he swiftly established himself as a distinguished plastic surgeon. Over a decade, he conducted hundreds of cosmetic procedures, becoming the surgeon of choice for many aspiring patients. Edwin was later inducted into the Colombian Society of Aesthetic and Reconstructive Plastic Surgery, a globally recognized body. With a following exceeding 35,000 on his personal and professional social media accounts, he achieved fame both domestically and internationally within the cosmetic surgery field. In December 2022, Edwin began exchanging messages with a young Spaniard from Madrid, Daniel Sancho Branchalo, who was nearly 2 decades his junior. Daniel was notably attractive, with sun-bleached long hair and a well-defined physique. Their correspondence quickly grew frequent, evolving from friendship to romance. The two exchanged a series of explicit photos and messages, and over time, Edwin's connection with Daniel deepened from casual interactions to a committed relationship. The surgeon started transferring substantial amounts of money to Sancho, exceeding 20,000 euros per month, to support the establishment of his own eatery, along with offering him a credit card for unrestricted use. Their affair was kept under wraps, Yet Edwin began envisioning a shared future with Daniel beyond Colombian borders. He schemed to inaugurate 2 clinics in Spain, specifically in the significant cities of Barcelona and Madrid, envisioning a life there with Daniel before potentially relocating to London or another locale. Edwin, a globetrotter at heart with a substantial financial reserve, never found traveling a hurdle. Indeed, he frequently ventured out of Colombia for a change of scenery. On this occasion, Daniel extended an invitation to him for a getaway in the scenic nation of Thailand, aiming for a secluded rendezvous away from their professional lives and intrusive eyes. A holiday in Thailand presented an ideal opportunity for a clandestine meeting, making it the chosen destination. They arranged their stay at a hotel from July 31st to August 3rd, perfectly timing it with the full moon party. On August 1st, 2023, their paths crossed on the island of Fangan, where Daniel proposed they revel in the famed celebration and enjoy moments of privacy. Brancalo had arrived a day earlier, on July 31st, greeting Arteaga at the airport and escorting him to their accommodations at the Had Salad Villa Resort, in a sumptuously appointed bungalow secured for their visit. It appeared both men were overjoyed at their reunion, eagerly anticipating the quality time they would share in each other's company. Daniel Sancho Brancalo entered the world on June 11, 1994, as the eldest son of the renowned Spanish actors Rodolfo Sancho Aguirre and Silvia Brancalo. Their paths crossed during acting classes, leading to Daniel's birth when they were merely 19 and 18 years old, respectively. The duo remained together for a little over a decade before deciding to part ways amicably. Daniel was raised by his father in a family where public attention was the norm, affording him a life of considerable ease and leisure. Known for his cheerful demeanor and athletic prowess, Sancho was fond of engaging in sports like tennis and surfing. Despite his lineage's prominence in the entertainment sphere, he chose to pursue a passion for culinary arts and hospitality. Working for the upscale catering firm Labum, Daniel's professional endeavors, though passionate, fell short of yielding the financial rewards he sought, earning him merely a fraction of what his family members made. Inherited wealth led Sancho to a lifestyle characterized by extravagant spending on fine dining, private jetting, and opulent travels. He frequently flaunted this lifestyle on social media, expressing his love for gastronomy, surfing, and global adventures. Yet, contrary to expectations, his public persona attracted minimal media spotlight. His social media presence barely garnered interest, and his YouTube channel, despite showcasing high-quality culinary videos produced with pricey equipment, struggled to amass a significant following, not even reaching 1,000 subscribers. Despite his famous familial background, Daniel's public recognition was surprisingly modest. A lover of travel, nightlife, exceptional cuisine, and surfing, Thailand ranked among his top destinations, making it an ideal setting for time spent with Edwin. Daniel and Arteaga's relationship spanned approximately a year, during which Daniel maintained a concurrent, long-standing relationship with a Spanish woman for 5 years, with plans for future matrimony. This parallel life remained hidden, just as Edwin remained unaware of his unwitting competition. Arrieta set foot on the island on Tuesday, August 1st, and his family was aware that he had planned a getaway with his boyfriend, Daniel. As time elapsed without any communication from Edwin since his arrival on Fangan Island, his family's concern escalated. This break in communication was out of character for Edwin, who typically maintained regular contact during his travels. Aware of his relationship with Daniel, Edwin's sister reached out to him via social media to inquire about her brother's unusual silence. Daniel expressed his own concerns, stating that he had planned to meet Arrieta on August 1st but hadn't been able to. Edwin's sister persuaded Daniel to report her brother missing to the authorities. Daniel agreed, mentioning he'd go to the police after taking a shower. Eventually, albeit hesitantly, he adhered to her suggestion and approached the police, where the officers noted several scratches and cuts on his face and hands. Given the recent discovery of dismembered body parts across the island, Daniel's appearance raised suspicions, prompting the police to detain him for further investigation and to conduct a search of his bungalow. At first glance, the bungalow was in pristine condition. with a spotless bathroom, kitchen, and bedroom. However, a more thorough search by forensic experts unveiled disturbing evidence. The drainage system was blocked with human hair and a substance that seemed to be human tissue, particularly fatty tissue. A quick DNA test confirmed the gravest fears. It was evident that a severe ordeal had occurred in the bungalow, and the authorities braced themselves to unravel the extent of the dreadful events that transpired in that seemingly luxurious space. As a segment of the police force scrutinized the bungalow for evidence, their counterparts were conducting an interrogation of Daniel at the station. Initially, Daniel vehemently denied any involvement in Edwin's disappearance, asserting that he had only arrived on Fangan Island on August 2nd. This claim was easily disputable, given the island's surveillance infrastructure and the hotel's ability to confirm the actual date of his check-in, rendering his statement imprudent. Confronted with the evidence uncovered, Daniel's account took a dramatic turn. He began recounting the events, portraying the outset of their holiday as idyllic. Following a scooter journey from the airport, they savored their time on the island, enjoying a meal at a local eatery, engaging in deep conversations, and discussing their aspirations for the future. As evening descended and the island's nightlife began to pulse with energy from the hotels, clubs, and throngs of revelers heading to the beaches for celebrations, the couple opted out of the festivities. Despite the pervasive ambiance of joy and the electric vibrancy that characterized Fangan during the festival, an altercation broke out between Daniel and Edwin. This quarrel marred their first night on the island, despite the otherwise positive start to their vacation together. 29-year-old Sancho felt cornered within the relationship, burdened by financial indebtedness and the psychological influence the 44-year-old man wielded over him. Daniel contended that Edwin's demands for physical affection became too forceful, pushing the younger man towards unwanted intimacy. The tension between them intensified, culminating in a physical confrontation. During the dispute, Sancho struck Arieta in the face and shoved him into the bathroom, where Edwin hit his head and fell unconscious. In a state of panic and desperate to revive him, Daniel doused his lover with water from a pitcher to no avail. It dawned on him that the impact had been fatal. In a bewildering turn of actions, Daniel then fatally stabbed Edwin twice in the chest and slit his throat. Following this, he dismembered Edwin's body into 14 pieces using 2 knives and a saw, scattering the remains across the island. He also disposed of Arieta's personal effects, including his mobile phone, yet retained $9,000 in cash. Subsequently, Daniel guided the police to the various sites where he had discarded the bags containing pieces of his lover's body. All of these actions were carried out within a day of Edwin's arrival on the island. Portions of the remains were cast into the sea after Sancho took out a kayak, as evidenced by shop receipts and staff testimonies, describing a visibly disturbed and tense young man who came in just after 9 p.m., denied the chance to rent a kayak at such a late hour. He utilized Arieta's funds to propose $1,000 for the purchase of a boat. His persistence ultimately convinced the employees to acquiesce. Having acquired the kayak, Daniel took Edwin's hefty suitcase, filled with his personal items and remains, and ventured into the bay. He jettisoned everything into the sea and afterwards, en route back to his lodging, encountered 2 women and joined them at a full moon celebration. The young man immersed himself in the festivities as though nothing was amiss, endeavoring to establish a watertight alibi. After reveling in the boisterous music and the tumult, Sancho made his way back to his bungalow and retired to bed, disregarding the fact that parts of Edwin's body were still in the adjacent room. Despite the evening's events, Sancho managed to find rest, his demeanor so impassive that he could sleep soundly with his departed companion just a short distance away. The following day, he rose early and roamed the island, dispersing bags filled with the ghastly contents in various locales. He departed the villa early Thursday morning, moments before the discovery of the first bag at the refuse site. In their quest to understand the motive for the crime, the authorities interrogated Daniel about his association with Edwin. His response was surprisingly candid. While he admitted to the murder, he refuted any suggestions of an intimate or romantic connection with Arieta. He alleged that the surgeon had misled him with promises of financial investment in a business where Sancho was a stakeholder, intending to engage in commercial dealings. However, Arrieta's actual motive, according to Daniel, was to persuade him into a romantic partnership. This revelation left the investigators perplexed, particularly regarding their decision to share a single room if there was no romantic involvement. Daniel, hailing from a lineage of actors, possibly saw this as an opportunity to showcase his inherited skills. He also expressed feeling trapped in his dealings with Arrieta, maintaining that despite attempts to sever ties over several months, Arrieta's threats and blackmail over a potential scandal prevented him. Daniel depicted their trip to Thailand as a holiday for a couple, though his real intention was to end their association. He firmly dismissed any suggestions about his sexual orientation being anything other than heterosexual. He had plans to wed a woman from Spain in the near future, a development that reportedly enraged Arrieta, culminating in a fierce altercation that led to Edwin's premature demise. The exact cause of Arrieta's death remains ambiguous, whether it was a fall against the bathtub or a fatal stab wound. Had Sancho not resorted to using the knife, it's conceivable that Edwin might have survived to pursue his aspirations. Nevertheless, the potential scandal surrounding his alleged non-heterosexual orientation, combined with his engagement, renowned family, and the risk of tarnishing his public persona as well as losing financial support from relatives, overshadowed his actions. Contrary to Daniel's assertion of a spontaneous act, the investigation uncovered proof of premeditation. Security camera recordings from the day before Edwin was collected from the airport showed Sancho acquiring knives, latex gloves, plastic bags, and cleaning supplies at a nearby store, items that were later used to eradicate any evidence of the crime in the room. Subsequently, divers retrieved Edwin's head and hands from the bay, along with his clothes, comprising boxer briefs and a black t-shirt, all stuffed into a suitcase. On August 15, 2023, Police Chief Sent Hokan declared the investigation into Daniel Sancho as concluded. The motive behind the murder was identified as Sancho's desire to completely remove Edwin from his life, enabling him to wed his fiancée devoid of any hidden truths. Daniel aimed to conceal aspects of his personal life from his future spouse and retain the financial contributions Arrieta had been making to his venture, leading him to concoct a drastic solution to eliminate both dilemmas simultaneously. The accumulation of evidence was sufficient to indict him for first-degree murder, a crime that in Thailand can result in capital punishment via lethal injection. Although the execution process is not immediate, allowing the convicted individual to pursue several appeals, these efforts typically only delay the execution by 2 to 3 years. This is one of the worst and most notorious incidents involving foreigners in the history of the country. When news of the situation reached Daniel's parents, his father, Rodolfo Sancho Aguirre, wasted no time in traveling to Thailand, accompanied by the renowned attorney Marcos Garcia Montes, who, despite his reputation, was not legally permitted to lead the defense in Thailand. A local attorney, Kun Anan, had already been assigned to Daniel's case. However, upon their arrival, Montes's disagreement with the strategies of the local legal representative and his critique of Thai legal practitioners led Kun Anan to withdraw from the case. Consequently, the Sancho family found themselves in urgent need of securing another competent Thai lawyer for Daniel amidst a highly complex legal scenario and the intricacies of the Thai judicial system. The local law enforcement clarified that Daniel would face charges for intentional homicide and for clandestinely disposing of the body to obscure the cause of death. As of now, there is no scheduled start date for Daniel Sancho's trial, with his fate precariously uncertain. His family remains hopeful that the defense team will employ every available strategy to safeguard his life. However, the task appears daunting in light of the overwhelming forensic evidence, eyewitness accounts, video surveillance material, and Daniel's own admission of guilt. Daniel Sancho is currently detained in a Thai correctional facility on Samui Island, closely monitored as he awaits trial, with both his legal representatives and the prosecution diligently preparing their arguments. The authorities are particularly vigilant regarding Sancho's well-being, given his apparent high levels of stress and concerns about his psychological state. Despite these concerns, they maintain that it's imperative for him to face the consequences of his actions in court rather than evading them through suicide. The shocking nature of the crime has captured the attention and elicited strong reactions from people in Colombia, Spain, and Thailand. The public sentiment is starkly divided. In Colombia, Edwin's professional peers, patients, friends, and family members remember him as a top-tier surgeon and a genuinely good individual. They argue that Daniel's portrayal of Edwin as a manipulative blackmailer is a desperate attempt to justify his actions. Conversely, some individuals express empathy towards the 29-year-old Sancho, suggesting that he was coerced into violence by Edwin. Regardless of the varied perspectives, this case has garnered international attention, leaving audiences worldwide eagerly anticipating the commencement of Daniel Sancho Branchalo's trial. Who among us hasn't envisioned a big, tightly knit family? Furthermore, if this family abides by divine laws and conscience, upholds ethical values and integrity, you can count yourself fortunate. Yet what happens when, residing in such a family, you one day unexpectedly feel like an outsider? So much of an outsider that they are willing to dispose of you through the most intricate means. Before you stands a typical American family, dedicating all their spare time to the church's service. Those familiar with the Staudts always had high praise for them. Individuals sought to support them both materially and spiritually. However, to everyone's astonishment, it was later uncovered that the family concealed a horrific secret. Among the devoted followers resided a malevolent entity, which was miraculously halted in its tracks. Diana and Mark Staudt had cherished each other since their youth, eager to finish high school to begin their lives together. They wed at a tender age, acquired a quaint house in Springfield, Missouri, and welcomed 4 children. Diana, a skilled nurse, also played the organ at the Lutheran church. Mark, on the other hand, was the lead vocalist and guitarist for a local blues band called A Game with Fate, which struggled to gain popularity and financial success. Mark sporadically worked as a bartender, much to Diane's dismay, as the family was in dire financial straits. Diana bore the financial brunt, struggling to provide and care for everyone at home. The couple's strained marriage was further burdened by their 2 children's special needs. 9-year-old Brianna faced learning difficulties, and 26-year-old Sean was autistic. The financial pressure slightly eased when their eldest daughter Sarah left for college, reducing the household expenses. However, upon her return, jobless and laden with student debt, the financial strain intensified. Then there was Rachel, the cherished daughter, who excelled academically, had a flair for music and poetry, and was learning French. Diana openly favored Rachel, often bragging about her accomplishments or praising her on social media. Life for the Staudts was a struggle but unremarkable until Easter Sunday, April 8, 2012, when 61-year-old Mark unexpectedly died. Diana informed the police that Mark had been sick for days, but had stubbornly refused medical attention, despite her offers of help as a nurse. Returning from rehearsal, Mark felt ill and chose to rest. Diana, respecting his need for quiet, proceeded to church that evening without disturbing him. The following day, when Mark failed to emerge from the bedroom, she checked on him, only to discover he was not breathing. His bandmates had remarked on his ill appearance at rehearsal. Although Mark was able to perform, he occasionally seemed to be in painful confusion, appeared extremely fatigued, and his skin exhibited a yellowish hue. Mark's health had always been fragile, leading the other band members to overlook his deteriorated condition. Mark's demise was deemed natural, with no inquiry into the specifics, attributed to his lifestyle, which frequently involved alcohol. His friends and family were saddened by his death. However, they observed Diana's relatively calm demeanor at the cremation. Diana explained that both she and Mark had faced serious illnesses frequently. They had accepted that eventually one of them might not survive, mentally preparing for the possibility, which softened the impact of Mark's death for them compared to others. Following Mark's death, Diana received a $20,000 life insurance payout. and relocated to a larger, more attractive house in a different neighborhood with her children. At the time, Brianne was 9 and had a learning disability. Sean was 26, Sarah, an unemployed college graduate, was 24, and the favored daughter, Rachel, was 22. Mark's passing was not the sole misfortune to befall the Staudt family in 2012. Shortly after the patriarch's death, the family of 5 was reduced to 4 when Diana discovered her eldest son, Sean, dead on his bedroom floor, in the bloom of his youth. Diana reported to the police that Sean had been displaying symptoms akin to a severe cold or flu, including diarrhea, nausea, body aches, and fever for about 3 weeks. He also suffered from headaches and, according to his mother, experienced seizures during periods of amnesia. The presence of dried blood around Sean's mouth raised questions among the police as to why Diana, a nurse aware of his worsening condition, had not sought hospital care or called for a doctor. Diana's justification, that her son had refused hospital treatment and she did not want to coerce him due to his adulthood, struck them as peculiar for a concerned parent. Sean's passing, much like his father's, was deemed natural, and once more, observers noted the mother's apparent indifference towards the calamity. When a neighbor spotted the medical examiner's vehicle in the driveway, he went over to Diana to inquire about the situation. Diana responded quite casually that her son had passed away that day. She showed no emotional response. Her demeanor was not reminiscent of a bereaved mother mourning the loss of her offspring, despite him being of adult age. Even more peculiar was her conduct following her son's burial. Diana didn't arrange any commemorative service for Sean. No death notice was published in his honor, as if his memory merited no acknowledgement. The young man was simply incinerated, and existence proceeded as though he had never been a part of the Staudt household. In 2013, the Springfield Police Department was tipped off by an unnamed source who claimed to be intimately familiar with Diana and her household. This informant hinted at a deeply troubling aspect concerning the recent deaths, alleging Diana had deceived law enforcement. Both deceased individuals were discovered with desiccated blood near their necks, experiencing eerily similar ends, which seemed far from coincidental. During this period, one of Diana's daughters, 24-year-old Sarah, fell critically ill at home, despite having no prior health issues, necessitating a thorough investigation by the authorities. Sarah began to show symptoms identical to those of her father and brother, including acute bodily aches, with her condition deteriorating rapidly. Diana relocated Sarah to Sean's former bedroom, fearing that if Sarah were to pass away in her own room, it would become unlivable for others. Previously, Rachel had used Sean's room but was tormented by nightmares. This time, however, Diana chose to hospitalize her daughter. The hospital diagnosis was grim, revealing multiple organ failures and the onset of shutdown, alongside a cerebral hemorrhage, placing Sarah in intensive care under life support. Despite the dire circumstances, Diana's lighthearted attitude towards her daughter's critical state, including making light remarks about not allowing the illness to interfere with her upcoming Florida vacation, struck the medical team as odd. Her indifference suggested a chilling possibility that Sarah's condition might have been intentionally caused. The anonymous tip grew increasingly credible as all medical examinations to pinpoint the illness came back inconclusive, compelling detectives to reinterrogate Diana about her involvement. Diana presented herself for the questioning with remarkable composure, displaying neither remorse nor anxiety. In an effort to put her at ease and encourage openness, the officers started with queries she had faced before. Throughout the conversation, they sensed she was either concealing something significant or engaging in deliberate falsehoods. The moment Diana offhandedly mentioned antifreeze, the investigators perked up, pressing her for details. Staudts then astonishingly asserted that Mark and Sean had both taken their own lives by ingesting antifreeze. The detectives, seizing on this, suggested that Sarah might have emulated her brother and father's actions. They posited that Diana's forthrightness could not only potentially save her daughter, but also dispel any lingering doubts. Contrary to expectations, Diana quickly crumbled, delivering a chilling admission. The inception of Diana and her favored 22-year-old daughter Rachel's sinister plans began during a conversation about how much easier life would be without their familial troubles. They fantasized about a life devoid of Mark, who was seen as a burden to Diana, Sean, whose autism led to challenging behaviors, Sarah, who accumulated college debt that the family had to cover, and finally, Brienne, who struggled with a learning disability. The notion of removing these burdens from their lives transitioned from a mere jest to serious consideration and ultimately to meticulous planning. The duo deliberated over various methods to discreetly eliminate the family members they deemed problematic, labeling them as detriments to their well-being. Their overarching goal was to ensure any action taken was both silent and untraceable. The decision to take Sarah to the hospital was driven by Diana's desire to avoid the unpleasant odors associated with in-house death. As they plotted, suffocation, an assortment of pills and other means were considered before they settled on antifreeze for its simplicity, cleanliness, and low suspicion level as their method of choice. Their preparation phase included online research for antifreeze that lacked the typical bitter taste to ensure their scheme remained undetected. They eventually found and purchased a tasteless variant online, solidifying their plan. Diana's grievances extended beyond the financial burdens imposed by her husband. She was also fed up with his volatile temper and lethargy. The love that once existed between them had deteriorated into bitterness, fueling her resolve to act. Mark, the husband, unknowingly became the first victim of this macabre plan, as Diana and Rachel began to lace the sports drink he frequently consumed with antifreeze, despite his lack of interest in athletics. His health gradually deteriorated, presenting symptoms akin to a common cold, which failed to raise suspicions among those around him until he tragically never awoke one morning. Originally, Diana's scheme was motivated by the desire to claim insurance money and rid herself of what she considered a parasitic presence in her life. However, the seamless execution of their plan emboldened the duo to contemplate further actions to streamline their living situation. They proceeded to mix tasteless antifreeze into the beverages of Sean and Sarah. Given Sean's already fragile health, the poison took effect more rapidly on him. Recognizing that simultaneous deaths would draw undue attention, they strategically delayed Sarah's intended demise to the following year. Following Diana Staudts' shockingly callous confession, she was promptly arrested, and law enforcement secured a search warrant for her residence in Springfield. Within the home, authorities discovered a diary belonging to Rachel, Diana's accomplice and favored daughter, which contained entries that shed further light on their heinous acts. The inaugural entry in Rachel's diary, penned months before Mark's demise, expressed a detached sorrow over the forthcoming deaths of her father and brother Sean. She anticipated the difficulty of adapting to their absence, but remained optimistic about the future. The cold, emotionless tone in which she chronicled these impending losses stunned the investigating officers, prompting them to bring Rachel Staudt in for questioning regarding the calamitous occurrences within her family. Initially, Rachel adopted the guise of an ignorant casualty of the situation, but this facade quickly crumbled once detectives confronted her with her diary's contents. Her subsequent account revealed that she was as complicit as her mother, Diana, in the macabre plot to eliminate their family members. Rachel displayed a chilling apathy when discussing their plans, driven not by personal grievances, but by a desire to alleviate her mother's perceived burdens. Rachel's recounting largely mirrored Diana's, albeit with notable discrepancies. Contrary to her mother's claims, Rachel insisted that the scheme extended beyond merely dispatching Mark. While Sean's behavior troubled Diana, Rachel initially opposed targeting her brother, advocating instead for his placement in a care facility. Despite these disagreements, Diana, unwilling to endure the challenges posed by Sean's condition and behavior, proceeded without her daughter's consent, persisting in poisoning him with antifreeze. It took 3 excruciating weeks for Sean to succumb to the effects. Diana observed her son's decline with a chilling indifference, maintaining the lethal regimen until his demise. Rachel professed shock over Sean's death, mirroring their father's fate, which led to a cautious pause before they resumed their plan with Sarah, waiting 9 months before attempting to poison her again. Sarah was depicted by her sister as inherently indolent, showing little interest in contributing financially or assisting with household chores, spending her days watching YouTube videos in her room. Her excessive curiosity was also noted as a contributing factor to her targeted fate. The narrative diverges when discussing Brienne, the youngest daughter. While Diana claimed she harbored no ill intentions towards Brienne, Rachel's account suggested otherwise, indicating plans were in place to deal with Brienne similarly, due to the inconvenience her learning disability posed, with Diana purportedly unwilling to tolerate the challenges it presented. The confessions and subsequent arrests of Diana and Rachel Staudts sent shockwaves through their community, leaving acquaintances bewildered by the heinous acts committed by a seemingly devoted nurse and churchgoer. The disparity between the family's public persona, characterized by devout religious postings and inspirational content on social media, and the grim reality of their actions underscored the profound betrayal of trust. The catalyst for the investigation, an anonymous tip, was later revealed to have been sent by Jeff Skippy, the family's pastor, who grew suspicious following the consecutive, unexplained deaths within the Staudt household. His keen observation and timely intervention with the authorities potentially saved additional lives from being ensnared in the malevolent scheme, orchestrated by two individuals masquerading as pillars of virtue within their community. Sarah, on the brink of death as per medical professionals, astonishingly pulled through. Nonetheless, she was left with a disability for life, enduring severe organ damage and neurological issues due to ingesting antifreeze. Sarah recounted her mother's distress over her returning from university, yet she could never foresee the heinous scheme her closest confidant had in mind. The thought of her mother's actions was beyond her darkest fears. It was later revealed that there were precursors to this tragedy. Shortly before Sarah was hospitalized, she accidentally found her mother's diary following Sean's loss. Within its pages, Diana had written about wanting to harm Sarah. Upon confronting her mother about the diary's contents, Diana simply complained about her privacy being violated. Diana somehow reassured her daughter that her diary entry was not concerning. Without the investigators informing Sarah about her mother's confession to poisoning her, she would have remained oblivious to the betrayal. Diana's younger daughter, Brianna, was examined medically and then placed in a foster home, showing no symptoms of poisoning, thankfully. After rehabilitation, Sarah voiced her perspective on her mother's malevolent intentions. She chose not to view herself as a victim, but rather as someone who overcame adversity. She managed to forgive her mother, not only for the personal harm, but also for the murder of her father and brother, displaying an extraordinary level of forgiveness since she would now require lifelong care and support. Rachel, seeking to mitigate her punishment, admitted guilt in 2015 to a serious offense and agreed to testify against her mother. Rachel received a life sentence with parole eligibility after 42 years. Diana faced charges of 2 counts of first-degree murder. By pleading, she did not confess guilt but conceded that the evidence against her was overwhelming. Having eliminated 2 family members and incapacitated another, Diana received a life sentence without parole. In prison, Diana soon contested her living conditions and denied responsibility for her husband and son's deaths, even though she had previously discussed plans for their demise. Both Diana and Rachel appealed to withdraw their admissions, with Rachel alleging her lawyer coerced her into making her courtroom statement, and Diana echoing her daughter's claim of coercion. Diane claimed that when Mark became ill, he interacted with suspicious and dangerous individuals, suggesting that they might have been behind his death before he disappeared. Diana claimed that she experienced nausea and digestive problems at the time, portraying herself not as a criminal, but as a casual victim. However, their attempts to present themselves as innocent were rejected. Consequently, both women have sought to simplify their lives by eliminating undesirable family members without ever considering that they themselves may find themselves marginalized in societies locked in places that are not so different from each other. This is the end of the story. Like the video and leave your thoughts in the comments. This was Jeremy. See you soon.